Good morning and welcome in. My name is Mitch Nellis, aka Thunder. This is a little Thunder here on Facebook Live and beyond. And it's Thursday, and Thursday means it's my opportunity to conduct an interview, to bring someone in from the community or someone who's done good things or someone I know that is having an impact. And so I'm really excited for our guest today, and I will get to our guest in just a moment. But real quick, we can't ignore what happened yesterday at 3 o'clock with our Milwaukee Bucks, the rest of the NBA. It was hard to go to sleep last night following Twitter and all the news from a sports perspective, what teams are voting to stay in the bubble, what teams are voting to leave, and what today's going to look like. Then the Brewers didn't play. I know MLS didn't play. I know there are other Major League Baseball teams, the WNBA. So much news to get to. And then, of course, what's going on in Kenosha. There's so much to talk about. There's so much news there as well. We will get there. Stay tuned. There might be a special Facebook Live later today. So I might conduct a Facebook Live later today, but again, that will be available on Facebook later. It'll be available on my website as well. Just based on the comments that I got on my personal page on my Facebook wall, so many different opinions, so many different viewpoints, so many things to unpack. And as I'll say, so many opportunities for listening and for kindness and for us all to figure what all this means for our community and our society. But it is Thursday, and I have a guest lined up, and I think she's an amazing person to talk about this and what's going on in our society, and something that's very near and close to her heart that she just finished showing everyone on Facebook. Kelly O'Keefe Boettcher is an English teacher at Rufus King. She's amazing. Like, I don't even know what to say about her because she's amazing. Kelly, good morning. Thanks for jumping on with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for that luscious introduction. What a great way to start my day.
I felt like I could have gone on and on and on and on, but I want to get to it. I want, I think I reached out to you because you had a former student, Miles, who was a victim of gun violence, and you obviously had a very special relationship with him. And so you decided to do an amazing, these tributes to him on Facebook. Tell us a little bit about Miles, and tell us a little bit about how the idea to do what you did on Facebook for him.
Well, first of all, I just thank you so much for this opportunity to lift up Miles's name, and welcome and blessings to his family if they are tuning in right now, the Laster family.
Paulette is here. I can confirm. So
yay. Hello, forever friend. I'm so glad that you're here. So Miles was my student his junior year, and he's been out of high school for a couple of years now, but it happens sometimes for teachers and for students. In fact, it happens all the time that there's a relationship that it just transcends, right? It's bigger than a 52-minute class period. It's more important than a grade. It's about what happens when we come together and we teach each other and we learn. So the weekend of the 4th of July holiday was devastating for Milwaukee on so many levels. There were 5 homicides that weekend, and I'm going to be emotional. I can't not.
No, and that's part of the story.
It is. I was just restless. I couldn't sleep that night. And I woke up and I did what so many of us do. I went right to my phone, Shark Week, and I could see it, right? Like it was showing up in the thread of Milo's stage name, Milo Throde. And something in me knew immediately that this was true. There was a former student who was the first to post it, and I knew if she was posting it, it was true. And I could feel it was shattering to me. I didn't know much about the details, but I knew that he was gone, and I just felt the enormity of it. I felt the enormity of gun violence. I felt the enormity of this brilliant, beautiful, talented young person taken too soon. And what was that going to look like? How would we grieve the loss of this life in this moment? And so I didn't act right away because I was overwhelmed. I was taken under by it because I didn't know what to do with all of that pain.
Sure.
But I drew from something that I know about grief, and that in this culture, we push it away, right? We bury it because we don't know what to do with it. So I returned to a practice that I did when my father passed, and that was that I wore black for 30 days. And it was in that moment that I decided I would write, because I'm a writer, I'm a teacher of literature and language, and it is where I find meaning. It is where I construct an understanding. And so did Miles. Miles lived in language. He was a poet, he was a performer, he was a rapper, and he was brilliant. I know I'm overusing that word, but he was. And I remember him saying to me, you better you tell your students, right? Tell them about this. And those words came back to me as I was working my way through the grief of, it's a commandment. That's an invitation to remember Miles and to keep him here with us as we grieve.
Absolutely. And so during this process of grieving, you decided to use Facebook as a very public way of grieving and share Miles' story with everyone, with all your followers, but then your followers shared it with other people, and your followers, your friends, everybody involved. How did you get that idea to what did you do, and how did you get that idea, and how did you see that connect with people?
Yeah, I learned about it on Facebook. I learned about Miles' death on that platform, and I understand the power of Facebook. I understand that younger people aren't there as often, but the first thing I noticed when it was posted that he had been killed was his Facebook picture was of me and him.
Yeah.
And so it felt like that was a natural conduit. It felt like I had learned about it there. His friends and family were there, even though many of them are over an Insta Snap and Insta all of that.
Right. All the other, yeah. Where the kids are.
But Facebook is a place that allows you a deeper expression, right? You're not limited to 140 characters. And I wanted the engagement. Mitch, I'm not going to lie to you. Initially, it was completely about my grief, but I very quickly understood that something was happening, right? Like people were connecting to it. The number of people who said, I feel like I know Miles. I feel like I've fallen in love with him through these posts. Thank you for introducing me to this person. And I think the community grief was also part of a community healing.
Yeah.
It's not to say we're done. It's not to say we're on the other side of it. I think when you love someone, you grieve them your whole life. You just do.
Of course.
I could not have predicted the response, but I will be forever grateful for it because I thought it was just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So first, how did you have the recall for so many of these conversations with Miles?
Yeah.
As you said, happened 3 years, most of them happened 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And what were some of your favorite reactions to when people were surprised or touched or even in the grieving period, as it's okay to laugh. If you share a funny story about someone who you loved, it's okay to laugh about that. And you gave people that permission.
Yeah, it would have been incomplete to not portray Miles in the fullness of who he was. He was absolutely silly, and there was so much warmth to his silliness. My recall, I don't want to give myself false credit. There were emails, there were texts. I joke about it all the time in my classroom of when I write my book, right? And I keep stuff. In education, we call them artifacts. I just call them things that I like to use as exemplars. And, I'm a bit of a hoarder in that I keep stuff. So I have a file of exchanges from Miles, and some of them were just so funny. They're just so funny. You don't lose track of it. So I think for me, the responses that struck me that I would have to sit and just be with, and I chose not to respond to people's comments. I would simply click the heart because I didn't want to pull it from Miles. Yeah. I wanted to create the clearing for people to engage with him and his family. I very much wanted his mother, Paulette, wrapped up in the love, because I know what that created for her. You know, when someone loves our child, when someone does right by our child, you can't describe that, right? When you know that your child has been loved, that's a blessing, right? That's such a gift. So probably some of my favorite comments had to do with, this is helping me grieve a sadness. There were also some very tender moments when people would say, I wish I had met him. Wow. Or they would say, I'm going to do what Miles would have done today. And that dedication to, you know, all the ways that he was kind, right? The post that I shared about how he would take food and give it to that kid that he didn't even know is such a Miles move, right? And I just assumed that he didn't have breakfast, right? But he was taking food and giving it to somebody else. And so to have people say, I'm going to be more loveful today. I'm going to be more generous today. I'm not going to take myself so seriously today. I loved that, because I could hear Miles in my ear saying, that's right. That's what's up.
That it's heartwarming to hear that reaction. And I'm guessing, you know, you could have been there for a long time, hitting the heart button or replying to every comment. Right. Just knowing that you're reading, sometimes that's what you need to do. You know, you were pouring your heart out, and you could have spent all day replying to everybody and having a conversation with everyone, but that's not what it was there for. It was there for you to be able to grieve and to let other people grieve in however they needed to.
Exactly.
So my friend Jessie, who's an MPS teacher, she's writing on the wall right now, and she says, the conversations we have with these kids shape our lives more than we shape theirs, crying with you. But then she has a follow-up question, and she wants to know what's happening with your current class, and she's struggling on how to do that and know it must be done. And so, you know, I don't want to, I want obviously the focus to be on Miles, and I want more, you know, and people can look at Kelly's Facebook wall and go through the stories, and they're amazing. But I do want to hear about what the start of school has been like, and how your current class and classes are dealing with things.
Yeah, well, I'm in Milwaukee Public Schools, and we are all virtual. Yep. I'm in my classroom right now. There we are. There it is. There's Miles' seat right there. I don't know if you can see it in the corner, but there.
Okay.
See it. We're all live. We're doing exactly this. We're doing something called a Google Meet.
Yeah.
And you know, the start of the school year has been in some ways better than I thought, because I've made a real decision to put my emphasis on our well-being and on building connection, because after so many months of being disconnected, I wanted to center it on, what does it feel like? How are you doing? When I go live with my kids in about 10 minutes, my juniors are going to be doing an activity on the intersection of culture, language, race, and power.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's deep. I mean, that's heavy stuff, Kelly.
It is heavy stuff, but we do a tremendous disservice to young people if we think they are not completely engaged in that conversation, because who we are, we discover it through language, and we live out our lives through our culture, and we ignore the power of race at our peril, right? To deny the importance of meaningful, rigorous conversations about race, that's a missed opportunity, and I won't miss it.
Right.
Too important. So
how has the transition back to school gone?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think for some kids, it's been fantastic. There's you take away all of the pressure in many ways. Kids are at home. They are able to negotiate their own way of learning, and there have been technological glitches. We're a big district, and having everybody go live, at least at the high school level, you know, that was a big demand on our broadband. But I would say overall, it's been really successful. Do we miss being together? Of course. Is this forever? No. Right? So we have to make this as good as we possibly can.
Absolutely. My friend Sarah wants to know if she can be in your class.
Please.
And I should say we know each other through my wife, Ellie, Mrs. Thunder, and she's the director of education at Jewish Museum Milwaukee. She writes, "I honestly cannot wait for an OKB hug." And so what would Miles say about this virtual learning? What would he say if he was in your junior class again and he was doing this virtual learning instead of being in person every day?
I don't think he'd love it. Miles was and will always be a hugger. Yeah. He is so, his spirit was so vital, and I mean, he would have made it work because he was such a good writer. But Miles, as a performer, as someone who was going to have this huge future on a stage, I think this one-dimensional thing, I think he would have found a way. Right. He would have found a way in the building. Right?
I love it.
Okay, B told me I could come in.
Right. But I need to be in the class.
Exactly.
That's great. I think you've given us a really nice picture of Miles, and we can see what he meant to you. And it's we have teachers and we have other people who are in education posting on the wall right now saying this is what being a teacher is. And I know that during this time of virtual learning, teachers have been put to the task and sometimes treated unfairly. Yeah. And what's your message to those who say, our teachers are essential? Are they not essential? What do we, what is teachers' role in all this pandemic times?
Yeah, this is not an original thought. I've just seen it on social media. In March and April, teachers were the heroes, and everybody was saying we have to pay them $1 billion. And then very quickly that turned. We live in fickle times. Teachers remain, I think, who teachers have always been, which is in many ways the foundation of a healthy democracy. Teachers, when we are supported and when we are at our best, are shaping the future of what any healthy community looks like, because we are getting out of the way and helping young people believe in themselves and believe in their moment and believe in their place. When we do that well, the entire community thrives. So I believe it was President Obama who was nation builders, and I take that that's an important charge, right? That's an important title. And if we circle back to Miles, because I always want everything to be about Miles.
Yeah.
He was a nation builder too, right? He built nations with his images and his words and his poetry and his talent. So.
Yeah. Juan posts on the wall, the MPS teachers who made an impact on me from K through 5 and then from 9 through 12 are a big reason of why I am who I am. Thank you, educators, for all you do.
It's huge.
And it's, and I think that's the message we take with us. And I think that's part of Miles' message is how important that educational piece is and how important it is to contribute to our community and to contribute positively to our society. Because I know Miles wanted to make that positive contribution.
He did. And so, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, if you're a community member, today maybe take a look around and look for your Miles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Look for your young person who needs you on their side and needs you championing them, because that's how we move forward. And that's what will ultimately get us the just society that we all deserve.
Kelly, I love that message. I love the tributes to Miles. If you everybody out there should go to Kelly's Facebook profile and read the tributes over the last 30 days. It just wrapped up a couple days ago, and the last one about angels had Ellie and I crying. There were tears in our eyes, and I know there were numerous days that people shared that with you. That can't stop crying, can't stop laughing, but let's all remember together, right?
Yeah, and it will be a book. I've already had a beloved teacher friend make the first down payment. We are going to publish a book, and all proceeds from the book will contribute to a scholarship fund that Miles's mother Paulette is putting together. So there were so many people that said this should be a book, that should be a book, and it immediately was like, well, of course it'll be a book. And of course all of the money will go to a scholarship for aspiring writers and performers.
And when it's a book, we'll have you back on and we'll talk about the book.
I love it.
Awesome. Kelly, I know you got to get to class.
I do.
But thank you so much for joining us today. I loved hearing about Miles. I love the messages of positivity. And I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, and you have a lot of work ahead of you teaching our young minds. So good luck. God bless. And you have an amazing foundation of people who support you and love you. And so thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks so much for this. Go kiss your bride for me. Tell Ellie I love her so much.
I sure will. She'll love to hear that. Thanks, Kelly.
Take care.
You too. Kelly O'Keefe Boettcher, English teacher and, as I wrote, amazing community member from Rufus King, English teacher. She's got to go get ready for class. So she's off. That's why we started a little early today. We started at 7:40. And we're going to wrap things up here. But there most likely will be a special Little Thunder today to talk about what's going on with the NBA, what's going on in Kenosha, and try to throw try to keep our mindset of positivity on that. But again, our thanks to Kelly, our thanks to her for sharing Miles' story, an amazing story. If you're able to go to her wall, read the story. If not, when the book comes up, I will obviously be sharing that information with everybody, and we'll have that book for everyone. I know it's, at 3 o'clock yesterday hit, and I wrote "Holy Bucks" on my wall, and the amount of comments and the amount of blame and negativity, but also the amount of support and love and understanding, it's all over the place. Everybody has their experience, everybody has their agenda, everybody has their background. What I ask for is listening. I ask for whether it's somebody who really disagrees with you, or a little bit disagrees with you, or just has a different take on things. Let's all listen. Let's find out where people are coming from, but let's not tell people that we're right and they're wrong. Let's try to listen to why other people, because if we're so right and they're so wrong, shouldn't everybody believe what we believe or what I believe? And if they don't, then there are other points of view out there. So let's just be open to other people's points of view. And I think Miles would have wanted us all to do that. Obviously, as Kelly shared with us, Kelly wants us to do that. So let's do our best at that. So thank you everyone for joining us today, this special edition of A Little Thunder, a little early, to hear Miles' story. I thought it was really important to share, and Kelly and I had planned this for a while. And there are people from the Bucks I want to talk to. I have a friend who's an EMT and firefighter in Kenosha who I want to talk to. There's no lack of people I want to talk to about what's going on today, and we will get there. But we need to share each other's stories as well. So thank you. Thank you to Kelly, and thank you to all of you for commenting, for chiming in. There's a ton of comments. I'm seeing them on the wall. It's awesome. It's really, I really do appreciate everybody who's here. Paulette, if you're still here, thank you for being here. Paulette Laster, Miles' mom. So excited to see the book. So excited to see what you do with that, with the scholarship fund, and celebrating Miles' memory. So thank you everybody who's here. Again, I'm not exactly sure what time, but we'll probably do another one soon. And as we say, go make kindness contagious. Go out there and practice kindness. Go out there and practice listening. Thunder out. Thanks, everybody. A cleansing breath.